Welcome to the Locked In Baseball Podcast. I'm William Locke. He is Luis Barranco. It is the second preview of our 2026 MLB team preview and prediction series. We are in Chicago on the south side, talking Chicago White Sox. Luis, the White Sox were pretty active this winter. How's it going, my friend?
I mean, we're finally out of the inferno that is the Colorado Rockies. I mean, there's actually some type of optimism, and my heart can actually be happy here on this preview right now for the Chicago White Sox. We're recording this February 15th. Hey, man, I mean, White Sox Southside, they got some promise. I mean, it was pretty couple of years ago that we were talking about guns at the ballpark in the outfield. And now we got the Pope. The Pope's a fan.
Yes.
Hey, but you got the church involved. I think that's a good thing. I think, you have the divine intervention. So I kind of feel like it could be a magical year for the White Sox. They're going to have some type of, magic going on at Wrigley Field.
This does feel like the last 2 years were very brutal for the White Sox. This does feel like the first year where they finally might be turning the corner away from being one of the absolute bottom dwellers in Major League Baseball to showing some promise. Obviously, we'll get to their offseason. They spent some real money. They have some real prospects to be excited about, prospects that are both on the Major League team now and still in the farm system on their way up, kind of that next crop. So I do think, and we'll get into some of the more detail, there are reasons to be excited about this White Sox team this year after a pretty brutal two seasons. Last year, they finished, what were they? They were 60 and 102. So it is 3 straight 100 loss seasons. Obviously, they lost 121 in 2024. They improved 19 wins, though, last season from that brutal 2024 season. Last year's over-under win total was 53.5. They hit the over. This year, that win total is up all the way to 66.5 on DraftKings. So obviously not the highest, but it does feel like there are some real improvement and some things to be looking forward to if you're a White Sox fan this season.
Hey, man, you got switch hitter Luis Angel Acuna. You have the 21-game losing streak back a couple of years ago. I mean, there's actually some promise on this team other than switch hitter Luis Angel Acuna, which, I mean, that's something to talk about. But, I mean, let's just look at the lineup, man. They got some really young, promising bats. A lot of this team is built up from those trades that they've made. One of the big trades that happened was with Boston in December of 2024 of the Garrett Crochet. You got Chase Mydroff, Kyle Teal at second and catcher, respectively. You got Colson Montgomery, who they drafted, who was pretty solid at the end of the year. Mickey Vargas, who they got from the Dodgers at third, and he's turning it around. They still got Benny Biceps, still paying him that 5-year deal that they signed him away from the Yankees from. And I think the biggest guy in the lineup they have right here is Munetaka Murakami, who, they finally were able to lure a guy from Japan, one of the marquee bats in free agency, which is depends how you sugarcoat it in the way where, if he is that coveted, then why don't we have other teams involved? Why did he end up in the White Sox? I don't know. We'll see how the season plays out.
His market didn't pan out the way most people thought it would, but 2 years, $34 million for the White Sox. Good buy low.
Yeah, good buy low. Could be some trade deadline fodder. Austin Hayes at right field, who was interested with all the big squads. A righty who just kills at the plate. Brooks Baldwin at center right now, and Edward Chiaro at DH. This is a pretty solid team. Hitting wise, a lot of young guys. Only 2 guys over 30 in the lineup. Everybody else is 26 years of age or younger. Very, very young. The rotation still needs help. Not many big guys in the rotation. They just re-signed Eric Fetty, who we know became a demon a couple years ago when he came back over to the majors, and Anthony Kay. But, when you look at this team, it's going to hinge on the development of that starting lineup and see how they pan out. That's pretty much how it is. They ranked 27th in average last year, 23rd in runs, 24th in stolen bases. I don't think they're going to be that bad. I think this team is due for some upward trajectory this season. The pitching is just what's going to need help, but help's on the way. They got Hagen Smith and Nolan Schultz coming up soon. And they also got the number 1 overall pick. So it is a great time to be a Chicago White Sox fan. It is not all doom and gloom to be out there. I know Chicago sports goes through a lot of hell in the sense that you got the Bulls, who don't have a single player over the height of 6'8", 6'9", and then I did not say 6'7". But you got that. You got the Blackhawks. I don't know how the Blackhawks are doing. Couldn't tell you. Haven't tuned into the Blackhawks. They've been more on the Panthers. And you also got the Bears, who, I mean, the Bears had a historic season this season, but I mean, hey, you got to replicate it. But again, I mean, there's a lot of positivity on the South Side.
When you look at the starting rotation, Shane Smith, Rookie of the Year votes last season. Excited to see what he can do this year. Davis Martin, another young arm. He's 29, maybe not super young. Sean Burke is there. And then don't forget about Drew Thorpe. Missed last season with Tommy John surgery, got it in March of last year. He should be back at some point this season. Same thing with Kai Bush, who got Tommy John surgery last February. Those are two young arms to look forward to. You mentioned the Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz in the farm. They also have Braden Montgomery, who is number 30 in Keith Law's top 100. He was in the Crochet trade. Caleb Bonemer, number 44 overall prospect. Billy Carson, another shortstop, 66 overall. He was last year's number 10 overall pick. And Keith Law actually had some high praise for him. He said, Carlson is among the best high school shortstops I've ever seen, combining instincts, hands, lateral quickness, and that arm strength to look like a big league player already, even though he was just 18 at the time I caught him at NHSI last April. I'm not sure what that is, but some high praise from Law. Law has him as the number 8 farm system in the league right now, which is on his 3rd tier. I expect them to improve that after they add the number 1 overall pick this June or July when the draft is. It's going to be that, probably as of now, that dude from UCLA. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's highly touted.
Rock Chalawalski.
There you go.
Hey, he can play. I mean, I've been tapped into college baseball this weekend. He's a player. I'm definitely tracking UCLA baseball. Not to steal your thunder, but I mean, I think the other thing we got to talk about, I want to ask you, is we talked about the youth movement, is there's so many parallels of the youth movement they had a couple of years ago when it was Eloy Jimenez, Tim Anderson, and Jose Abreu, that squad. What do you think this team needs to do not to end up in that same spot where they just got pounded by the Astros in round 1? How does that team not end up like a carbon copy? Because it kind of feels that way. Like, they have really good players that can turn into, like, I don't think they have that one star player, but I think they have those really, really good MLBers.
Yeah, they're pointing to Colson Montgomery to be that star player, so I'm excited to see what he can do this season. Was pretty solid. I think he got called up on July 4th last season and was good in the second half. What do they need to do? I mean, it is a new regime with Getz as the GM. It's second full season as the GM, so they're developing it differently. I think a big thing is they don't get caught up in any bad contracts. You know, the Benintendi deal burned them. They signed that deal in January of 2023 and it never worked out. So, like, you don't want to overpay for guys just to come to Chicago. Like, trust the development and the young guys you have. Don't go out and splash in free agency. Like, Murakami wasn't a splash. It was only $34 million. They also brought in Sir Anthony Dominguez, the reliever. That was not necessarily a splash. That was a 2-year deal, not a lot of money. Austin Hayes, 1-year deal. Like, you don't want to get caught up on trying to splash in free agency too early in this rebuild. This feels like the first season where it's like, okay, now we're really going to see what we have with these young guys. What trade was Miguel Vargas in? It was the Dodgers, July of 2024. I can't. Was that Tommy Edman trade?
No, Tommy Edman was the Cardinals. I think it was like one of these like dumps.
Well, I think Tommy Edman was a 3-way trade. Could be wrong. It wasn't the Lance Linden.
Yeah, it was a Tommy Edman because they got Kopech because they ended up getting Kopech. It was Kopech and Tommy Edman to LA, and the Dodgers gave up Vargas and a bunch of other guys that haven't scratched the league yet that are in the minors still. So yeah. I mean, look, I like this lineup. I just want to see some development. We got to see with Rock Chalofsky to see what when he ends up in there. It's gonna be interesting what they do. I know we're looking. There's a lot more excitement in the minors. I think what they're gonna do, because I mean, Billy Carlson, he is a shortstop. Colson Montgomery is a shortstop who can dabble at third base. Be very interesting to see what they do in that middle, because they're going to have 3 designed shortstops, and Chase Mydrop's pretty good. Maybe Miguel Vargas is decent. He can be utility. Going to be interesting who gets the boot in that way. But it remains who they develop pitching wise. That's what I think they need to develop. I mean, and the White Sox have gotten pretty lucky with lefties in the sense of in the modern era with Chris Sale and Garrett Crochet.
We should see Hagen Smith this year and potentially Noah Schultz as well. They're both on the spring training non-roster invite roster. With the Rock piece, it is interesting. A lot of infielders there. Cholowski seems like he could be a guy that could be up on the team next season. Like, very highly touted prospect. Mydroth, like you said, is there. He's been playing second base, was involved in the Garrett Crochet trade. Really good strikeout and whiff rates last year. Didn't necessarily hit the ball super hard. Not a lot of power there. 649 OPS last season, but he's something to watch. Colson Montgomery kind of taken over as the face of the franchise. The Cubs, for as good as Bregman is, he's still new. It kind of feels like PCA is the face of that franchise. So it's like two young dudes in Chicago as the face of those franchises. Another thing I think it's important to note is Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, is 89 years old. He remains the controlling owner and chairman of the team. He has been in that role since 1981. However, in June of 2025, a long-term agreement was reached with Justin Ishbia to transfer controlling interest to him between 2029 and 2034. Ishbia currently owns about 30% of the team already, and Jerry and his son control the rest, the 70%. So, I mean, I don't want to sound morbid, but it's like Reinsdorf is he's old. You know, what happens if he passes away before 2034? Like, does Ishbia then take over the team? Does Jerry's son hold on to that, to the franchise? Who knows? But I do think, you know, getting some new ownership paired with this kind of rebuild they're on right now could be good for this team.
Another Michigan man in control in Chicago.
Who?
Ishbia,
Michigan State.
Still a Michigan guy to me.
Yeah.
For Birmingham, Michigan, man. Yeah, man.
They also traded away, obviously, Luis Robert this winter for Luis Angel Acuna.
The switch hitter.
The switch hitter. So it's like Benintendi, Hayes. They should be regulars in the outfield. Derek Hill, like a defensive specialist, but Luis Angel Acuna, we'll see where he plays. Everson Pereira, Jared Kelnick is a minor league signing. The rotation is, to your point, like pretty wide open.
Lamont Wade Jr.'s in the minors right now. He's a non-roster invite. This team could be pretty solid. Yeah, this team's pretty solid.
They could be good. They could be good.
Solid. And I mean, if it goes left, they got movable pieces that they can just get better and better. I mean, you can easily flip up Austin Hayes and maybe Murakami. I mean, Benintendi's contract runs like for a couple more years, I do believe.
Yeah, he's got 2 seasons left.
And so it's going to be harder to move him. So, I mean,
I do think Murakami is going to be one of the more interesting players to watch this year because there is a chance if he pops, he really pops. I mean, you know, we saw how good he was in the NPB 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe wasn't as good the last 2 seasons. The strikeout rates are a concern. It doesn't seem like he's going to be, just seeing some of the clips early in spring training, doesn't seem like he's going to be the best defensive third baseman. Might not play much at third base, you know, might move more into like a DH role for them. First base, who knows? That's more of a, you know, an easier position to play, but I don't know what we're going to get from him defensively. What, like, if he's able to hit and, you know, strikeouts aren't too much of a concern, we could see 40 home runs and like all of a sudden he's a huge trade deadline asset. Maybe next year or this year, the 2-year deal gives him that extra year of control. If the White Sox aren't in contention, which I don't think they're going to be in contention, but I'm very excited to see what they get from Murakami this year. They did install bidets in guaranteed rate clubhouse as a result of the Murakami signing at his request. So, you know, that is interesting. What happens if they trade him in July? Do they get rid of the bidets? I don't know.
Could I ask you a question in regards to the before we get into the over-unders for this year? Being a team like the White Sox with a lot of young talent and a lot of budding talent in the minor league system that's close to coming, do you think, what would your approach be, or what do you expect the approach to be with an impending lockout coming? Do you think that the White Sox will get them up after the All-Star break and let them get reps in professional, like MLB level, because of a lockout potentially next year? Or do you think that they're just going to like sit them out and not have them come because, you know, that's a year of development that could be lost by them not, you know, by them not playing a season next year?
So you think they might rush them up to get some experience at the major league level because we might not have baseball next season?
Yeah, so they can get development in the majors. They can get a taste, get some stack up some innings. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. you activate the clock with the whole service time, get closer to free agency.
That's the only thing.
But if they're missing a season of baseball next year, they don't. It doesn't count toward their service time at all. Obviously,
they're 1 year older, and you're not getting reps.
Exactly. Like that's a kind of a disaster if you're a top prospect team with a lot of good farm system pieces.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you're an MLB GM, especially like put yourself in the White Sox, do you start the clock early and let them get reps with the lockout coming? Because I mean, right now, if we're sitting down and from what we know, we're probably going to lose games next year. And if we're losing some sort of games, how is AAA, AA, and Single A going to look? Will we have a restructuring of the minor league system? Like that could happen in a new CBA. We could have a restructuring of how the minors work, and there's so many levels, and it's just like we saw how it went through the pandemic. I think we're seeing like what happened in the pandemic with baseball in regards to the minor league systems. I asked you the question of what would you expect?
Yeah, I mean, they cut a lot of minor league teams during COVID. Like there was a significant reduction in the amount of minor league teams during that. So yeah, who knows what minor league baseball looks like after this new CBA? It is an interesting thing to think about for this season. Do we see prospects get rushed up, or do they hold them back? I don't know. But to your point, like it does seem like, the lockout is going to happen. And it does feel like there is like this looming cloud now over the 2026 season where, for as like excited as we are for baseball right now, there's been so many pieces out there about the pending lockout. And it just feels like that conversation is already there, where it's taken away from the shine, just taking the shine away from the baseball that's going to be played on the field. Like we know a huge talking point throughout this whole season is going to be negotiations between the owners and the PA all season. And it sucks that it's going to be taken away from the play on the field, because we've seen how successful baseball has been over the last couple seasons, pitch clock, great World Series, all that stuff. It's just going to be part of this season.
I mean, we're seeing the World Series is better than the Super Bowl. The MLB All-Star Game is probably the best All-Star game in all professional sports right now. I mean, it was just call a spade a spade.
Yeah, well, today we're recording this on February 15th. I think you mentioned that at the top. We have the All-Star Game for the NBA this afternoon. I don't think anybody cares about that anymore.
It was at 5:00 yesterday. We had Jace Richardson literally hit his head on the backboard. We had all
Jackson Hayes did like a basic in-game dunk, one-handed slam, like it was nothing. Like what are we doing?
What are we doing? That's another combo. William, over under. What's the over under for the White Sox off DraftKings?
66.5.
What are you taking?
They were at 66 wins last year. You would expect some more improvement. I think the division, like the Tigers, are going to be really good. The Guardians, I don't know what to expect from them. The Twins are going to be terrible. The Royals will be solid. Sorry, they won 60 games last year. A 7-game improvement. It's still a slight under for me.
I'm taking the over. I think this team's going to shock it. They have the Pope on their side.
They do. And we've seen the Cubs have a good season. The Bears had a great season since the Pope took over as the Pope.
Seattle had a good season as well.
What's the correlation there?
The Seahawks, I think I read some stat that the Seahawks win whenever then there's a new Pope or something like that. So
interesting. So you're over, I'm under. We have not been aligned on our first two picks, but yeah, I do think there is some excitement there with the White Sox this season. I don't know if they're still behind a paywall. Chicago Sports Network, last season they were. I don't know if that's still a thing. There was some update on that last year. I haven't read too much into it, but yeah, I don't know.
We will see. Well, now we're going to Washington. I mean, we're going back to hell, so it's terrible.
New regime in Washington.
So William will give another Paul DePodesta chat. We'll have another Paul DePodesta chat for like 8 minutes talking about analytics and how we have new brain trust in the front office and
youngest front office in Major League Baseball, youngest coaching staff.
Here we go. Yep.
It's an interesting experiment. We'll talk about it in the next episode. That was the Chicago White Sox. Next up, Washington Nationals. Thank you, Luis, as always. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.